Howdy, folks. I'm back with some more great information to help you get a little bit of an edge on growing your mushrooms. I need to go ahead and produce some grain today to make some spawn, and in doing so, I'm going to just share my method that seems to be working exceptionally well for me. First and foremost, you have to have a grain of some type. And the grain that I've been having the best luck with is just basic unprocessed, uncrushed, unrolled oats. And this is what we have here is just very conventional feed grade oats, organically sourced, of course, because I do have a little bit of preference toward things that haven't been chemically treated. So I've got organic oats, about 4 quarts in this thing here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this product, put it into a larger vessel, and most importantly now is you're going to soak it. And usually the process takes overnight. I would say 8 hours is sufficient if you're going to start it before you go to work your shift, come home, and your grain should be suitable for you to start working with at that point. So what we've got now is that grain that I just poured into this vessel, and secondarily and probably most importantly, I'm going to go ahead and soak the grain in clean water that has been treated with azomite. Now, azomite is a mineral supplement that acts as a pH buffer and a micronutrient supplement. So I take, roughly a tablespoon and mix it in here. So this, the water will take on kind of a dingy appearance, but trust that in spite of it looking kind of like mucky mud dirt, it actually doesn't do anything untoward toward your grain. So I've got roughly another 4 quarts of this product here, and I go ahead and dump it in. There's still a little excess here. So at that point, you're going to go ahead and stir it up. Oh man, here we are. Have to excuse my kitchen, still kind of recovering from the 4th of July festivities yesterday. And just mix the grain and your azomite water together. And the cool thing about using oats is that you don't really have to go take any extra steps in the way of heating it up. For whatever reason, oats just soak up the correct amount of water without having to heat treat them. A lot of times when you're using wheat berries or rye berries, they have a lot more of a hardened texture to them, and it requires that you heat them up in order to get the appropriate amount of moisture content. So when you go to, first of all, you're going to sterilize them or sanitize them with your pressure cooker. I heartily recommend that if you haven't invested in a pressure cooker, that is, steam sterilization is kind of a joke in my opinion. It just opens the door for a lot more contamination. So if you go ahead and take this step of just soaking and then stirring thoroughly and making sure that the grains get adequately exposed to the solution, and all you have to do now is set it aside for that 8-hour interval. And at the end of 8 hours, you're just going to pour off the excess solution, and your grain is going to have just the right level of moisture content. Now, if you forget to take care of your grains and you end up letting them sit for way too long, they'll start to sprout. I mean, that's just what grains do. So you have to be mindful of that. Don't let it go for much longer than you absolutely have to. So 8 hours to 10 hours seems to be the right window of time without going overboard and having your grain start to sprout and molt and you'll even see it start to ferment or release air into the solution. And that's when you've let it gone a little too far. Now you can probably still use it, but you're going to be battling wet grain. And if you have wet grain in your jars after they're sterilized, what will often happen is you're going to find that the substrate doesn't colonize at a relatively uniform rate. And so you're going to have, a lot of times your jars will fail because they'll be there'll be just way too much moisture content. And you have to have just that right amount, that balance. It's all about balance. So anyhow, I just wanted to share my preliminary methods to getting off the ground as far as substrate and grain spawn. This is just one simple, basic hack, if you will. as opposed to having to do the extra steps in the process of prepping rye and wheat berries of that nature, and even millet. But yeah, beyond all other things, be safe, be smart, and enjoy yourself. Peace.